All right, Skype and iPhone podcast tutorial, easy mode. Here we go. So the first thing you're going to need to do is download the editing software, which is called Audacity. And Audacity, it's open source, so it's free, independently developed, and it is like the Swiss Army knife of audio editing tools. Aha! Free open source cross-platform. There we go. So you'll want to download this thing first. Download Audacity. Audacity for Windows. And when you're looking at this page, there are a couple of optional downloads. And there's two of these that you're going to definitely want to get. That is the lame MP3 encoder and FFmpeg import-export library. Lame is what will allow you to export an MP3 straight from Audacity, which of course is super helpful for podcasting and uploading your podcasts. And the other is FFmpeg. And FFmpeg will allow you to drag and drop a video right from your phone or from your desktop, or hypothetically, maybe you shot a video of your cat or something and wanted to use that audio, you can just throw it right into Audacity and it'll read it. If you don't download these, you will not be able to export MP3s or import-export videos from Audacity. I'm not sure why it's set up like that. It's some kind of weird open source thing. As long as you download those two things and install them, you'll be good to go. So you'll run the installer, whether you're on Mac or Windows or whatever, install it. The lame MP3 encoder and FFmpeg will take you to this secondary site, CLame installations, installing and updating Audacity. It's fairly straightforward, so just do the CLame installation section, and you'll do the lame download page, download it. If you download the exe file on Windows, I think it might be a DMG in Mac. It might be a little different. I'm not sure what operating system you're using. It'll auto-install it, and it'll do the find me and use me step in Audacity automatically. Okay, so let's say you go through and you install this stuff like you would a standard program. Then you're going to go into Audacity. Next thing, let's make sure that we have the lame and FFmpeg libraries installed. So you go to Preferences, Edit, Preferences. There's a bunch of different settings in here that you can get into. You're not going to need to mess around with this too much for general recording tasks. So you'll go under the Libraries tab. And if you do not have this installed, here where it says MP3 library and FFmpeg library, it'll say not found or something like it. If you download it separately, you'll do like a zip file of just the library. You'll do locate, and then you'll navigate to the folder where it is. However, if you use the installers, it'll automatically drop those in, and so you don't have to worry about any of this stuff. So basically, if this says something other than not found, you are good to go. Okay, so what you do to record a Skype podcast in Audacity, what you're going to do is, in Audacity, you are going to set the record input to be the output of your speakers. So whatever goes on through your computer is going to get baked down into that audio file. How to do that, by default, depending on if you're using Mac or Windows, it's a little bit different in each. I'm using Windows, so that's just what I'll show you here, but the function is the same, what you'll look for. So you'll go to this drop-down window all the way on the left here, where it says Audio Host. Click that drop-down, and on Windows, you'll do Windows Wasapi, which is like a Windows audio something, blah, 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 blah. And what you can do for your input here, if you set it to microphone and I start recording, it'll just be me talking into my laptop. However, if I want to record the output of the speakers, the loopback recording, I'll change this to speakers high definition audio loopback. The loopback is what puts the output of the computer speakers into the input here. If I go to YouTube or something, I don't know, let's pull up a Bob Ross video. And I start playing Bob Ross.
I think everybody should have a friend, even a tree.
Now that we get some audio
even
from
a tree needs a
YouTube.
friend.
it's going to pop into Audacity, and it's going to be recording. So this is essentially the same thing that's going to happen when you record a Skype call. The thing to know, though, is that if you have, like, let's say when you're recording your podcast, maybe you have a Facebook window or a Google Hangouts window open or something. If you get a notification, that's going to bake into your file. So you just want to make sure that when you're recording Skype, you just close out your other windows so you don't get some rogue sounds. So let's do a little test of that. I am going to, from my computer, Skype call myself on my work account. Kyle Rebar. And we will audio call. Now over in Audacity, you can see that it's baking down the Skype tone. Oh, I have to answer. And now, all right, so what's a little crazy right now is that I'm getting a little bit of feedback because my phone is right next to my computer and the speakers are turned on, and it's a little crazy. So I'll stop this right now. Aha! End call. Yeah, so there's the Skype audio tone. That's really good. So the problem of this, though, is if you're talking to two people, it's only going to record the back end of the Skype call. So if you're podcasting you're doing a three-way Skype call, the two people that you are calling will be baked into this file, but you yourself will not be baked into this file. The easiest workaround for that, that's probably the lowest tech, is to just record a video on your iPhone. If you use a third-party app to record audio, so something like Tape a Call that I've had terrible results with, I'm not sure if voice memos work like this anymore, but the audio quality is like a low-resolution MP3, which almost always sounds like garbage. But strangely enough, if you record a video file on your phone, but if you record a video file and then drag it into your audio software, you'll get full resolution audio, which sounds great. Something that might be smart to do when you're doing this, because you will, of course, need to sync these up to make sure they match, is to either start recording the video on your phone when the Skype tone plays. And then you can just line up the Skype tones, and when they match, you'll know all of your voices will line up. Or just start doing it at the same time. But that should be, pretty straightforward. So rather than using something off of my phone right now, so what I will do, for an example here, is I'll drag in one of the phone audio files from a donut podcast Kat and I recorded a good long while ago. Just IMG. And when you plug your phone in, when you connect your phone to your computer, you just navigate to wherever your photos, videos are, drag it to your desktop, and then drag it into Audacity. If you try to edit off the phone, you might get disconnected or lose it. It might just be a little slow on the upkeep, but if you put it to your desktop or a standard hard drive, it'll be super, super quick. So then you drag this into Audacity. It'll run this little FFmpeg importer. And again, that's how you know that you have FFmpeg installed, if it is that simple. And then you play forward.
Two of my favorite things in the world, peanut butter and yeast donuts.
Now the donut construction, that is the audio, standard, glazed, unedited, straight from our phone, and allowed, I don't know, we might have been in a cafe or something like that. But suffice to say, the quality of it is pretty high, all things considered, for a simple low-tech solution. You could, if the stereo loopback recording is a little too complicated, or if it's not working for some reason, you could also just put your phone near the speakers on your computer and record a video that way. However, you run the risk of, if somebody makes a standard phone call to you, maybe you'll get some interference or something, and it might not be as crisp as if you do the stereo loopback recording of the Skype call. When you do get into editing, just a couple of quick things to go over in Audacity, a couple of basic functions or software anatomy. So to adjust the volume of a clip, I have these two little sliders here, this plus minus slider. If you take it to the left, it is going to turn your volume down. turn it to the right. It's going to turn your volume up.
Today, listeners, we are here with a
quick little podcast tip. When I'm trying to level things for podcasts, I'll try to make sure that whatever I'm editing is clearly audible in terms of being loud enough at 50 to 70% of the laptop speaker volume. So, and if I can hear it at that level, that means that when someone's listening to this on a phone, they, in theory, should have some leeway to both turn it up and turn it down. If you set your levels to your speakers at full volume, then that's the loudest it's ever going to be. And on a weaker speaker system, or say like an iPhone or on a phone or a small speaker or something, you won't be able to hear what you're trying to do, or you might have to like crank up your speakers all the way. That's not something you have to do, but it also just makes the listener's experience a little bit better. If you want to get really fancy, you can do some left and right stereo panning. You know, maybe you want to have someone all the way out of the left speaker or all the way out of the right one, which probably isn't super audible right now because I'm doing this just through a laptop speaker and recording into a mono microphone. Another thing you will probably need to do is the time slip tool or the move tool, time shift, whatever it's called. This is the little double arrow icon here. And with that, you can just click on a region of audio and drag it around. So when you put in your phone audio source with your loopback Skype audio source, you can use this to move them back and forth to line them up. This handle over here, the plus minus hourglass icons, these are your zooms. These are super handy. So let's say you do all this stuff, you record your podcast, and then you want to export it. How do you do that? You're going to go to File, Export, and then you have all these formats here. Export as WAV, OGG, audio, multiple, MP3. Probably for a podcast, you'll want to do an MP3 export because these things can get pretty big. The thing to look at is going to be your bit rate. The lower you go on a bit rate, the lower your quality is, right? So that can make your recordings start to sound like old junk Napster files or something. They get really like kind of warbly. I typically recommend to never go below 160 kilobits per second for speech. That will typically give you a bare minimum of artifacting, which are those weird, warbly, watery sounds that always sound like junk. If you're going to do music, I would recommend doing 256 or 320. If you're just doing an interview podcast, you know, a little bit of a lower number is fine, but don't go below 160. Something else you want to consider too is there's different bitrate modes. So constant means you set the quality level once and it stays there forever and doesn't move. The other one that's very common is variable, and that is like when there's quieter portions, it'll drop the bit rate. When there's more sound, it'll increase the bit rate. I don't like that just because you can sometimes get strange artifacts that you weren't anticipating. And if you don't go back and listen to it, maybe something jarring might happen halfway through your episode. So I typically recommend just do constant, you know, what's another 5 or 10 megabytes, you know. Then you name your file, you export it, and you upload it to whatever service you're using to host your podcasts. If you guys have any questions, feel free to holler at me.